This set is the 4206 Red Bull RB-20 F1 racing car officially released by LEGO on March 1st. The 4207 Ferrari SF-24 was also released during the same period, but the designs of these two sets are completely different. In terms of functionality, apart from the suspension which adopts a newly designed front pull and rear push suspension system, it is exactly the opposite of that of the Ferrari SF-24. Of course, it also conforms to the settings of the prototype vehicle. Other functions are quite similar, including the gearbox which was added to a 1-to-8 F1 set for the first time, the rear cover that can be quickly detached as a whole, the linkage between the driving and the engine, the linkage between the steering and the steering wheel, the adjustable DRS rear wing, and to a certain extent, it has a modular design. But the modular design concept and architecture of this RB-20 are completely different from those of the Ferrari SF-24. In addition, the number of parts of this RB-20 is nearly 300 more than that of the Ferrari. So, in this in-depth review, on the one hand, we will take a detailed look at the specific performance of this set. On the other hand, we will also examine whether these additional parts are redundant designs or bring more details. Let's start by looking at the packaging. The colorful box still maintains the consistent style of the sets intended for those over 18 years old. On the back, apart from the finished product image from another angle, you can also see the size indication of 63.5 centimeters at the bottom. And there are also detailed pictures of the gearbox, the differential, as well as the steering wheel and the front wheels returning to the straight position simultaneously. After opening the color box, the 1,639 parts are divided into 11 sub-packages of parts in total, with 10 major steps. The assembly manual is also packaged in a craft paper bag, which is approximately 1 centimeter thick. Just like the Ferrari set, it also has an 8-page opening section of color pictures, which provides a certain introduction to the design of the prototype vehicle and the bricks. Especially in the introduction of the designers, it can be seen that these two F1 models released in the same period were not designed by the same person. The total number of steps is 418 in all, with an average of 3.9 parts per step. The stickers are just like those of the Ferrari set. There are also two large sheets like this. As for the new parts that were included in the 4207 Ferrari set, which we reviewed some time ago, are also featured in this 4206 set. So, if you want to have a detailed understanding, you can find the relevant information in our previous video about the Ferrari set on our account. Let's focus on the internal design. The rear suspension adopts a push-rod suspension scheme. The key L-shaped rocker arm structure is composed of a brand new tow ball connector numbered 5995 and a connector numbered 33299, and it can be seen that it is divided into upper and lower parts. One end of the rocker arm, that is, through the tow ball of the part numbered 5995, is connected to the push rod extending upwards from the bottom of the suspension drive axle. And the other end is connected to the small-sized rigid shock absorber that is longitudinally arranged in the middle. So, compared with the L-shaped rocker arm of the Ferrari SF-24, which forms a natural reinforcing structure by combining the part numbered 708 with the part numbered 5995. The L-shaped rocker arm of this Red Bull RB-20 does not have a reinforcing structure. At the same time, this cross shaft that serves as the fulcrum of the rocker arm is also relatively long. So, when it is under relatively large pressure, it can be seen that the rocker arm will undergo visible deformation to the naked eye. That is to say, a small part of the suspension movement will be absorbed by the deformation of the rocker arm itself, and it cannot be completely transmitted to the shock-absorbing parts. However, it's not a big issue. Also, after adding the push rod, as can be seen from the tests, the rebound force is moderate, and the tactile feeling of the rebound is really distinct. The gearbox of this Red Bull F1 car has two gears, which are 16-16 and 20-12 respectively. After the power comes out from the V-shaped 6 engine, it is connected to the power inlet of the rear suspension through this black axle. Then it passes through the 28-20 gear ratio at the end of the central differential, and then transmits power to the wheels on both left and right sides. At step 54, a small bug has been found in the manual. At step 119, another small bug has been found in the manual. Different from the rear suspension, the front suspension adopts a pull rod suspension system. What's the same is that the L-shaped rocker arm is also composed of the parts numbered 5995 and 33299. The tie rod extends downward from the upper part of the suspension drive axle to the position at the bottom of the vehicle, and then connects to the rocker arm structure. According to the tests, the L-shaped rocker arm will also have slight deformation. The feeling of the rebound is also very distinct, which means it's not really a problem. Let's look at the linkage structure between the steering system and the steering wheel. Similar to that of the SF-24, the steering wheel is also connected to the steering gear through a set of gear set with a ratio of 8:8. The relevant operation methods involved in the front wheels and the steering wheel need to be returned to the straight position synchronously. That is to say, we need to rotate this 12-tooth gear for steering by one tooth. This operation is the same as that of the SF-24. We can also find this 12-tooth gear in the manual of the RB-20. Just like the men in the SF-24, it has also been rotated by one tooth. It's just that LEGO didn't provide any relevant reminders about this in either of the two manuals. In addition, this set of 20 to 12 gear set in the steering structure will also be connected to the manual steering power coming from the roof at the rear. We can already see the 4 large modules of the main body of the entire chassis here. It's also very easy to combine these large modules, especially for the 2 large front and rear modules after the initial combination. When further combining them, there is no need to align any pins with pinholes at all. And as we can see after combining them, the entire main body of the chassis is indeed very sturdy. When it comes to the part of building the exterior, this Red Bull RB-20 doesn't adopt the large exterior module scheme of the Ferrari SF-24 in terms of the design of its exterior modules. It is mainly composed of small modules one by one. And the operations related to combining these small modules are also relatively easy. Well, just like with the Ferrari SF-24, it also took about 7 hours to assemble. The finally assembled finished product is 63.5 centimeters long and weighs 1.51 kilograms. Although the number of parts has increased by 20% in terms of weight, compared with the 1.35 kilograms of the Ferrari SF-24, it is only approximately 12% heavier. To a certain extent, it also shows that the proportion of small parts used in this Red Bull one is relatively higher. In terms of the appearance, the front wing is also constructed with multiple layers of technical panels to replicate the multi-layered winglets of the original vehicle. Just like the Ferrari SF-24, only 3 layers were built, and then stickers were used to create the impression of having 4 layers. The end plates on both sides also adopt a brand new construction method, and the angles of the end plates created in this way are closer to those of the original vehicle. And compared with the Ferrari SF-24, the shapes of the end plates on both sides of this Red Bull RB-20 appear to be more true to the original, while the SF-24 looks a little bit shorter in comparison. Let's take a look at the front nose part. Regarding the nose cone, not only are the circular curves of the front edge of the nose cone replicated through stickers, this method of constructing the whole part with technical panels also makes the entire front nose cone look more smooth and natural. In addition, for the part of the entire front nose close to the cockpit, the construction scheme of the curved technical panels used in the Ferrari models and the previous Mercedes F1 cars has not been adopted either. Instead, it adopts the construction method of using flat technical panels and creating an overall beveled angle. Therefore, there is no problem of the front end bulging. Looking at the vanes above the front wheels and the hubcaps on both sides, they are all well constructed. When we come to the middle part of the vehicle body, the halo system adopts a construction scheme similar to that of the SF-24. The rear view mirrors on both sides are extended outward to the appropriate positions through the axle. Relatively speaking, the scheme of the SF-24 seems a bit perfunctory. Let's move on to the side pod part. The designer also mainly restored the original model through 3 curved surfaces, including the curvature of the side from a top-down perspective, the gradually downward curvature of the top of the side pod, and the curvature of the bottom of the side pod. It is worth noting that below the air intake, inside the side pod, this is a position that is not easy to see, but the designer even used a technical panel to replicate the downward sloping air duct at the bottom of the side pod. That design is not present on the Ferrari SF-24. And at the lower position in front of the side pod, we can also see that the designer has constructed the splitter of the prototype using several pieces of parts. Although the SF-24 also has this design, it seems that the solution of the RB-20 looks cooler. Finally, it comes to the rear of the car. As can be seen, the designer not only used concave design panels at the end plate positions on both sides of the rear wing, but also replicated the original vehicle. In addition, the designer even replicated the vertical end plate lights on both sides, which is also a design that the SF-24 does not have. Well, having seen all these features, what score do you all think the appearance of this Red Bull RB-20 deserves? Let's take a brief look at the functional test. Although in the evaluation we mentioned that the strength performance of the L-shaped rocker arms of the front and rear suspensions of this Red Bull RB-20 is not as good as that of the Ferrari SF-24. In the actual test, the rebound performance of both the front and rear suspensions is still very stable and reliable. Not only is the stroke clear, but it can also be seen that most of the suspension movement can be absorbed by the shock-absorbing parts. Different from the Ferrari SF-24, which allows for gear shifting directly on the exterior surface, the Red Bull RB-20 requires removing the rear cover like this. Similarly, pushing the shift lever forward is for the high gear, and the linked speed of the engine is relatively slow. When the shift lever is shifted to the middle position, it is in neutral gear, and the engine is not engaged. Then, when shifting the lever back, it is in the low gear, and the linked speed of the engine is relatively fast. The steering is linked to the steering wheel, and there is no difference in performance compared to the Ferrari SF-24. According to the method mentioned in the evaluation, when the front wheels are in the straight position, there will be an angular difference of 7.5 degrees in the steering wheel, which is not easily noticeable. What's different about the front wheel blades compared to those of the SF-24 is that during the steering process, the blades will move synchronously with the steering of the wheels. As for the SF-24, its front wheel blades are completely stationary, that is, they are designed to be fixed. Finally, the manual adjustment of the DRS rear wing poses no problem, of course. Well, that's the situation regarding the functional performance as described above. In terms of firmness, there is no obvious difference between this Red Bull RB-20 and the SF-24. There should be no problem at all when it comes to daily handling and playing with it. Well, after watching this video all the way to the end, we believe that most players will come to the same or similar conclusions as we do, without considering the intellectual property factor, simply in terms of the design of the bricks. This Red Bull RB-20 is indeed superior overall to this Ferrari F-24 of the same period. In terms of functionality, it is mainly the blades that can move together with the front wheels. There aren't really significant differences in other aspects. So, the most prominent advantage still lies in the aspects of appearance construction. Then, let's go back to the question at the beginning of the video. The additional nearly 300 pieces of parts have indeed brought more details to the vehicle, and it has undoubtedly elevated the overall performance of the entire vehicle to a higher level. Finally, after finishing the assembly of this LEGO Red Bull RB-20, we have then completed the assembly of the currently available major 1 to 8 scale F1 racing cars with official licenses on the market. So, in the near future, we will also do a comprehensive comparative review for you all. You can subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.